What's up, YouTube? The last couple weeks I've had some time to check out the Le Pro 3, and I would say my findings initially, I was very skeptical about the actual performance for what I was actually going to get for a $300 phone. This phone, there are some things that were, I guess you could say, some things that actually met my expectations, and some things that actually this phone actually delivered on. But for one, let's go ahead and get this out of the way, because this is gonna be my review of the Le Pro 3. And so, first, right off the bat, this thing is solid. Look how it's built. It feels really premium. It's got this whole unibody feel. It's got your USB-C. Of course, they've got courage because there's no headphone jack. So down at the bottom, and then you've got on the right hand side, you've got the volume rockers and the power button, and you have up top, you've got the IR blaster and a microphone. On the back, we have our 16 megapixel camera, and we have the fingerprint sensor. On the front, you've got an 8 megapixel camera. The 16 megapixel camera has autofocus, and also you have speakers. You've got the dual set speakers. You've got the stereo speakers. You've got one in the actual earpiece and one in the bottom, and then also you have a mic at the bottom too. So just kind of want to get this out of the way, since we talked about the build there. What I want to talk about also is the specs. So here's what you're getting with this phone. You've got a 5.5 inch full HD display, 1080p. The actual PPI is 403. You've got a Qualcomm Snapdragon 821 processor. That's pretty much top of the line, same that you get in the Pixel. You've got 4 gigs of LPDDR4 RAM, 64 gigs of internal storage, and as I mentioned, you've got the 16 megapixel rear camera, 8 megapixel front facing camera, NFC. You've got a 4070 milliamp hour battery in this thing, and so for the most part, the rest is kind of your network stuff, your typical HSPA, LTE, and the Wi-Fi standard AC for your 2.4 and your 5 gigahertz support. So let's go ahead and get into this. So overall, the performance on this phone is spectacular. For the most part, you get day-to-day performance. I don't have any stutter or any slowdown or anything like that with this phone. However, I will say one thing is the fingerprint sensor. It can be a fail sometimes. Sometimes it takes up to maybe 3 or 4 times for the screen to actually, for the screen to unlock. I haven't experienced that with many fingerprint sensors, but this is kind of a hit or miss. So just be wary. That's one thing, one minor caveat. For me, the fingerprint sensor isn't the whole world to me, but I would like it to work. But for the most part, I haven't really experienced any major bugs with this phone. You've got, I've watched a couple reviews, and I've actually looked into a couple forums or so here on the actual LeEco website, and also XDA. Some people have said they had bugs with like Bluetooth working. I can give you my personal testimony that I have not experienced any Bluetooth issues. I was just at the gym last night, and every time I've been to the gym, I always have my Bluetooth headphone on, and I don't have any issues with any interruptions with music when I've got my Bluetooth headset playing. I've got music going for like 2 hours straight, no issues. So I don't know. That's not my personal issues, but some people, keep in mind, some people have reported issues where they've got disconnects with Bluetooth. Also, some people say they have issues with NFC. I haven't experienced that either. Well, actually, honestly, I haven't tried to use the NFC. I haven't tried to use the NFC with this phone. So Just be wary on that. Some people have experienced issues with NFC. But overall, performance-wise, this thing is pretty good. Software, let's get into some of the software tricks. And there's also one other thing that somebody else said about the bugs with this phone. They said that their notifications, something about, I guess, this phone has like an aggressive dose, where if you leave it sitting for a while, you don't touch it, and it goes into dose, it will just completely not give you notifications. Like, it doesn't prioritize notifications, at least not natively. But what I have seen is there is a menu that you can go into, a settings menu that you can go into, and you can prioritize your notifications. But that could very well be a factor in the notifications not working. For me, the only bug that I've personally had to go through was just the clock. The Google clock, for me, it was a fail. I set the Google clock or whatever. I try to use that. I try to use alarms on the Google clock, and they would show up in the notification panel. Like, I would be able to see it show up in the notification panel, but the alarms would not go off. And I tried that a couple days at a time. Fortunately for me, I woke up in the morning before my alarms went off, so I was able to make it to work on time. But just keep in mind, there are some bugs with the phone. However, my workaround for that was I had to use the native clock app. So I've got my folder here, and I call it useless apps, useless tools, just for all the stuff that came natively with the phone that I don't use. So I had to actually use the native clock right here. So then those are the alarms that I have set up. So just keep in mind that was one of those. There are a few caveats with bugs with this phone, but it's probably a mixed bag. I don't know if you decide to buy it, what you might run into. But overall, for the most part, for me, that's the only bug that I've experienced personally. Other than that, the phone flies. It's a Snapdragon 821. 4 gigs of RAM. What more could you want at $300? And that $300, keep in mind, that was a flash sale. LeEco, if you go to the website lemall.com, LEMALL.com, and I'll have that in the description as well. But when you go there, they have flash sales on a lot of their products, and if you catch this on $300, the $300 mark, that's fantastic. And sometimes even Black Friday, I believe they had it for either $275 or $279. But overall, good price point, really good quality. However, next thing I want to touch on is the actual camera on this thing. The camera itself was pretty fantastic. It surprised me because the phone itself, like when I was out taking pictures, I thought it was gonna be. I was out one night at Steak and Shake, and we were just hanging out with some fellas, and we took a picture. I took a picture, and I was expecting the colors to come out bland or washed out, and they were really the colors actually showed out. They really stood out to me. I was like, wow, I was blown. And the image quality was sharper than I thought it was going to be. And honestly, this is a very fully capable camera on this phone. And so, other than that, battery life was good. I mean, you've got a 4070 milliamp hour battery. What do you expect? This battery does last you all day, and for the most part, I get about 5 to 5.5 screen hours, screen on time hours. And so with that, I would honestly have kind of expected a little more, considering this is, the actual capacity of this battery. But it could just very well be how well the software works with the hardware that could, give you that result of the output of the battery life. But there are some people I'm part of a 24-hour tech talk Telegram group where we just talk tech 24 hours. And there's some people in that group that have the Le Pro 3, that have their own YouTube channels as well, Night Tech, and then also Jay Will. Both of them had the Le Pro 3, and they got better battery life than what I got. I believe Night Tech had got 9 to 10 hours on screen time with this phone. So, and it's got quick charge also with that USB-C port you have at the bottom. You get it supports Qualcomm Quick Charge 3.0, and so you can. I believe I haven't really tested it to the T, but I believe from 0 it can be charged. It can charge fully by an hour and 45 minutes, somewhere around that, for the most part. But overall, everything else is pretty good. The camera, so we talked about the camera, we talked about the display. This 1080p display looks pretty good. Usually keep it at about 50%. I lowered it down just for the video, but overall, I mean, it's a solid phone. There's not really too much to say. I haven't actually run benchmarks on this, but from what I've seen, because I'm not really much of a synthetic benchmark person, but there are a lot of people that say the benchmarks here outperform the Pixel. How about that? But the Pixel seems to be smoother, in my opinion, even though there's no slowdown for the most part. But it's like you kind of notice, like when you hit the multitask button, the little animations. But I guess if you can wind down the animations and stuff, it will look smooth. But it's actually pretty smooth. And after the update, as a matter of fact, they had a few bugs I ran into before the update. There was the Play Store issue where apps weren't, like some of my paid apps weren't showing up as paid, and then they sent the update that fixed it, and that made the phone smoother too overall. But for the most part, this is a solid phone at $300. What would I recommend? Like, let's say in this circumstance, at the retail price of this phone is actually $400. And what I would recommend at that price point, you got to take into consideration, you got some competition. You got Moto Z Play, and you also have the Pixel. Well, Pixel's not in that price range, but for the specs line up with this. And so let's say if you're a person who already has the Pixel, should you sell your Pixel for this? Nah. Keep your Pixel. Keep your Pixel. One of the issues with this is that I can't wait for like CyanogenMod or somebody else to support this software, because dealing with this, yeah, this little thing, this little ugly menu that they call your quick toggles. I have no clue why did they put that under the recent app menu. They have it situated here in the recent app menu for no reason. I mean, I prefer, I guess, just like most Android phones, to be able to swipe down and get my quick toggle so I can turn off my Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, whatever I need from there. But other than that, I mean, I know I could probably throw a stock launcher on. I didn't throw the stock launcher on it. And you've got these other software tweaks here. You've got the live. That most of the people I don't use any of that. I don't use the LeViddy. I don't use the LeView. All these other things software-wise. So I cannot wait for CyanogenMod. Supposedly, if you look, there was a forum on XDA developers, and they said that LeEco released the source code for this phone. So hopefully somebody will pick that up soon, and then once they release CyanogenMod, that'll make a world of difference in this phone. So ultimately, but at the $400 price point, between the Moto Z Play and this, I would go to Moto Z Play, because Moto Z Play unlocked is like $450, or you can go get the Verizon. This is actually the Verizon variant. And I use my T-Mobile SIM in it because it's already unlocked. A lot of Verizon phones are already unlocked anyway. So I've been using that with my T-Mobile SIM. But ultimately, in conclusion, for this phone, it's a great phone. I mean, don't get me wrong. It has its quirks, and the only setback here is the software. Other than that, this phone it's solid. The audio, the speakers sound really good too. The speaker quality, it's definitely louder than the Pixel, but it can get tinny at times. And then also, I had some time today to actually use the headphones that come paired with it. They come, they're little pack-in headphones, or USB-C type headphones, and little earbuds, and you stick them in. And so I was jamming to some songs, and I was like, "That's not too bad. It's not. They're not the best pair of headphones in the world, but I mean, it was very good quality as far as crisp sound. Like, it wasn't what didn't have the most bass in the world, but you could hear a lot. There's a good balance between highs and mids. So all in all, that's pretty much my summary of this device. It's a great device, great hardware for $300, but that software, when that software kicks in, that's kind of the, if you don't mind dealing with this user interface, if you can deal with, you know, you could probably just go ahead, once again, slap a launcher on. I'm probably going to go ahead and put the Google Now launcher or the Pixel launcher on this thing eventually, until Signage and Bob, you know, releases a build for this phone. But for right now, if you can just deal with that user interface, go ahead and throw that $300 down on it. But other than that, I'll probably go with that big boy, the Moto Z. Battery life is way greater on the Moto Z than what I've experienced with that. And you also get performance, you get the mods, it's going to get nougat. There's no guarantee of when this is going to get a software update. It's still running 6.0.1 Marshmallow. So with that, I'm done, and I'll catch you on the next Ricama Tech review. Thanks for watching.